We're going to be looking at narcissistic abuse as it takes place at a microcosmic level amongst individuals, and narcissistic abuse as it can take place from the state down to a collective, to a nation. We're going to look specifically at the effects, the psychological effects, the philosophical effects of this particular type of abuse. And we're going to look at how those effects have created the situation that we're in now. And then we're going to start looking at what to do about it at an individual level, and then finally we'll be getting into it at a collective level. When we're looking at narcissistic abuse of an individual, there are certain things that take place that we would be looking for in order to call it emotional abuse, psychological abuse, or narcissistic abuse. Just because it's called narcissistic abuse doesn't mean the only personality disorder that engages in these particular kinds of games are narcissists. Many people with psychological issues use this, and the effect largely is to make the target feel like they're losing their mind. When you're dealing with a narcissistically psychopathic, abusive personality type, of course, they never take responsibility for their actions, because that would involve a level of empathy and humility and a capacity to take external data from the environment and then change in accordance with it. So I'm never to be blamed. I am blameless. I am pure. The narcissistic worldview is based on a false ideal of the self and a false ideal of the reality. If I'm the narcissist, I have a false self, a false ideal of who I am, and a false ideal of what reality is. And I'm going to force you to live with my idealized self. I'm perfect. I'm blameless. And my hyper-idealized reality that's in accordance with what I need it to be. The truth is whatever I say it is. Very George Orwell, very 1984 style thinking. Typically the blame will be shifted to the weather, the economy, whatever you like. If I'm a narcissist, the favorite thing to blame is going to be you, because then you'll be full of guilt and shame. So anytime you suffer, you'll be made to feel like it's you that's caused that suffering. When you say no, they completely overreact. Yes, the narcissistic psychopath does not like having does not like boundaries. They don't like having their version of events being challenged. They certainly don't like hearing the word no. So an indication that you're in a narcissistically abusive relationship is when you set a boundary, or you challenge a narrative, or you say no to something. The reaction is completely disproportionate and totally inappropriate. They will go into, so what that would do if we use the psychological lingo, by saying no or setting a boundary, you have inflicted a narcissistic injury, and that then induces narcissistic rage. This is the boundaryless rage of a toddler who's having a complete meltdown because they're not getting their way, precisely their way that they want to get it. And when you see that happening, if you just say, oh no, I don't really want to do that, and they fly into a rage, you're probably looking at narcissistic abuse. So the two key words there are disproportionate and inappropriate. Do you see forced conversations and narratives dominated? There are certain conversations you can have. You can seem to rebel. You can seem to question the narrative, but only so far. And if you go outside of that, you'll be punished, silenced, deplatformed, or completely ignored, or derided for being whatever shameful title they want to apply to you. The big one at the moment is conspiracy theorist. My recommendation to everybody is just get over it and say, yeah, I'm a conspiracy theorist. If you let that hurt you, you're so easy to silence. I'd just be like, yeah, give me the tinfoil hat. Okay, you can call me a conspiracy theorist. These are just foolish words. In that particular case, that was a psychological Operation Counterstrike by the CIA, specifically developed for people who doubted the narrative of the JFK assassination. So can you see that? I'm sure that you can. Future faking. Have you been promised a certain deadline that once you passed, the thing was not delivered? You said, just keep obeying us. Once we get to February the 43rd, then 1984, everything will be okay, and then it didn't, or it got worse. What about blame shifting? Do you see the shifting of blame away from governments, politicians, and governmental institutions back to other sources, like the people?